In this video, we're going to look at the concept of selection. This is the ability to select an object or deselect an object before you edit it. In order to make a selection, you must not be in any command at all, and you'll know whether you're in a command because you'll look at the prompt, and if it is green and it says select command or entities, then you know you're not in a command and that you can make a selection. There are multiple ways of selecting. The most obvious is to hover your cursor over an object until a diamond appears at your cursor, left mouse click, and the object is selected. If you move to another object and you select it, then the first object is deselected. If you wish to add objects to your selection set, you hold down the Shift key on your keyboard and continue the selection process one at a time. You can also drag a window around an object to select it. In this case, I'm about to select the word bed 3, but because the green dash line is not 100% inside the box, it will not get selected. To deselect, you simply reselect something that's already selected. If you wish to deselect everything, then you can release the keyboard and with your left mouse button just click in blank space, or you can right click, or you can use the escape key. In version 10 onwards, you have an option to select cross border. This enables you to drag a window around an object without actually fully encapsulating it. So I'm just going to drag around this object, but only this far, and it's captured the entire object because the object crossed one of its borders. If I was to hold the Shift key now and I clicked and I dragged left to right around here, it's going to grab all the lines that cross over the border. In version 10 onwards, you also have the option to show a different color when dragging to the left. With this option selected, if I drag from right to left, you'll notice that my box is now a red dashed line style. And what it will do, it will select everything outside the box. So if I let go of my left mouse button now, every object that's outside this box will be selected. Right click to finish. If I click here and drag across, it's selected all objects except the ones that were crossing over the box. Let's try that one more time on this. If I go from right to left, it's selected everything except for these dimensions that cross the border. In addition to being able to use a rectangle, you also have the ability to use a fence. The polyfence allows you to select objects with a great deal of care. If we zoom in here, for instance, and I wished to select only what was I'll show you what I'll do. I'll click here as my starting point, and I'll just travel in a clockwise direction. I wish to grab these lines. I don't wish to have the door. I think I'll keep the powder room. I think I'd like to have this door, however. So I just click my way around, and when I right click to finish, it's now selected only those objects that are 100% inside the box that I drew. So this didn't get selected because it was outside of the area of the fence. This arc didn't get selected because it was outside the area of the fence. It's a very useful tool if you are trying to be very selective visually about what it is you want to select. I'm right-clicking to finish. In addition to this tool, we also have a tool which grabs lines that touch end to end to end. This is called the chain command. By selecting it and then selecting one entity on the chain, it will follow along the entity until it finds multiple paths, a joining spot. So here it's found a joint, and it's not sure whether it should be traveling to the right or traveling to the left. I may say that I don't wish to select this line, so I say no, or I press N on the keyboard, and it finds the only alternative in this case. This line is not an alternative because it doesn't join here, it simply sits over the top of it. It's actually a single line that runs over the top, whereas these two are separate lines. If I said yes to this line that's flashing, it will continue on its way until it finds another junction. And in this case, it's found a junction that would either allow it to move to the right and select this thin line, or if I say no to this, it's found this small line just here flashing at me, and I may say yes to that. And as you can see, it's traveled around and it's made all of the selections it can. I suspect that this arc and this arc are not physically actually attached to the very ends here. There'd be a gap. Let's look very closely. Yes, there's a gap here, which is why it didn't choose to continue around in this operation. Okay, and I'd say there's a gap here as well. Yes, there is. Had there been no gap, it would have attempted to travel around and continue on its way. When you've finished here, right-click once. It still remains selected, allowing you to continue making selections. So if I held down the Shift key, for instance, I could add this window to my selection and these wall lines, and I could do the same here. So it's a very useful mechanism to find lines that are touching end to end, and it's certainly very handy when your drawing becomes very, very complicated. Something that's very important is the ability to select everything in the drawing. And to do that, you can simply press Control and A on your keyboard. And like any Windows-based program, it will select absolutely everything that you're working on. And the same would be true on a Mac, but you'd be using a slightly different key. Again, to deselect, just right-click or left-click in empty space. In addition, you have the ability to right-click on an object, and you can then select all of the same colored object. So you'll notice here I've selected a green dashed line, okay, and it's going to find if I choose this by lifting my mouse button, it's now found all the lines in the drawing that happen to be the same color. If I was to do the same on this black line, I'd probably want to choose select by either color or by weight. And if I choose by weight, it'll find all lines, regardless of their color, that happen to have the same line thickness. Same would be true if I went for blue. And I said, select all the same color. And it's found all the blue lines that happen to be the exact same color number. So it's not specifically that they are blue, it's that they happen to be a particular color number. The same would be true for this red area. The easiest way to select this would simply be select all of the same color. And it's found all of the red entities. The same would be true for layers. If I right-click on these dimensions, for instance, well, in fact, for dimensions, I might select all the same entity type, and it'll find only dimensions. So it's found all the dimensions in the drawing. If I right-click on text and I say, select all the same entity type, it will find all text in the drawing, whether you can see it or not. So it's a very powerful way to be very selective about your selections. In addition to the right-click option, where you're selecting things here, and you have the ability to have all the same color or all the same layer or all the same line style or weight or entity type, you can also choose name. So it will find any object that has the same name as another object. There's also an option here for the previous selection. So it'll find anything that we selected previously. And in this case, it's selected all the text. That command is also available here in the quick menu. If I select it again, it's found all the previous objects. In this case, it was the dimensions. If I click it one more time, it found this dimension, which was the first one that we selected. So you'll notice it toggles through. So it toggles between the last 3 selection sets, and then it repeats the process. Very, very handy to go back to objects to save you having to reselect them individually, for instance. Finally, you have the ability to use all of these options down the bottom here in the general properties to be very, very selective about what you choose. So in this case, for instance, I might say, look, I don't want to select anything, okay, that is this blue color. So I uncheck it. And whilst it stays visible on screen, I will not be able to select it even if I drag a window around, which I'm going to do. I'm going to select OK. and you'll notice all this blue text will not get selected. Even though it sits inside the box, the blue text has been refused entry into the selection set. Finally, there's also an ability to use the Alt and Control key on your keyboard. Let's look at these lines here. And this is for dragging across the line. So I press down the Control and the Alt key, hold them down, left mouse click and just drag over the objects that I wish to select. And it's selected any linear entity that I dragged across. It won't select dimensions. It won't select text. It will only select linear entities such as lines, arcs, circles, etc. The reason it doesn't select this is because this is part of a group. If I was to double click on this, it will tell you that it is a group. And because it's a group, it won't allow the object inside the group to be selected at this stage. In addition to selectability, we also have in the same dialog boxes that we were looking at before of layer, weight, color, style, and entity, we have the ability to switch on or off their visibility. What can you actually see and what can you not see? So you'll see here that we've got walls, and I'm pretty certain that they would be on a layer called Walls External. So if I came across and I said I don't wish those to be visible at all, I click on that particular icon, the eye closes, and I select OK, and that particular layer has disappeared from view. It hasn't been deleted, it's just been made invisible. So lots of different ways to achieve what you're looking to achieve and make your drawing easier to navigate and easier to work on. You could, for instance, if you really wanted to, if you wanted to just work in this little red region, you could essentially go to your color system and just say, look, I want everything to be invisible except for this red color that I'm working on, and go OK. And now you only have to think about what you can see. It's very, very handy. And if you want to switch everything back on, and this is crucial, literally hold your cursor over any type of object that's available and visible to you, right click and choose unhide all, and everything will reappear. All layers will be switched on, all colors will be switched on, all line weights will be switched on, and all line styles will be switched on, unhiding everything in your drawing.